presents the Wisconsin Badgers against the Iowa Hawkeyes, where it's an unofficial homecoming of sorts, as today 3 former Iowa assistant coaches return to Kinnick Stadium for the first time since becoming key Wisconsin coaches. And a pleasant good afternoon to you. I'm Mike Newell, and along with Mike Riley, we'll have the play-by-play report in this one. The Badgers and the Hawkeyes on a beautiful football Saturday. Down through the years has always been a hard-hitting, pretty tough affair for both ball clubs.
That's a great rivalry that's existed for many, many years, and I expect similar type game today, even though Barry Alvarez just getting started up there with the new staff and as a new coach. They're going to come in here fired up. You can bet on that.
Let's talk a little bit about Barry Alvarez, on from the Notre Dame program, but prior to that, he was a big, big factor of the Hayden Fry success story here in Iowa City.
He certainly was. After having great success at Mason City in high school, he came onto the staff. He did a great job working with the linebackers primarily, so I have a little experience there with my son Jimmy. A great guy, well-liked by the players, and a real motivator. And I got to believe that he's got these kids from Wisconsin sky high for this game simply because of that association you mentioned. 3 coaches from Iowa up there working against their former coaches down there in Iowa City.
Hawks are 3-1, Badgers 1-3 in the conference. The Hawks 1-0, the Badgers 0-1. The victory for Iowa came last week, Spartan Stadium, East Lansing, Michigan, in one whale of a defensive battle. The Hawkeyes held the Spartans to just 7 points. The big reason, Melvin Foster.
Well, Melvin Foster really came into his own. He's a great player. He came to the University of Iowa with great credentials. He's a super player. He has good speed, good size. He's a strong kid, and he's really coming around now, and I look for him to have a great season the rest of this year.
Foster got an interception in that matchup against the Spartans. He had 20 tackles. Count them, 10 tackles. Let's take a look at that interception. He was named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. Then Sports Illustrated came up and nationally made him the National Defensive Player of the Week.
And I liked his comment after the game. He said, I felt like Nick Bell running that football. Look at him go.
About the same size, as a matter of fact. There's a shot of Mr. Foster. The linebackers are going to factor in this one. The linebacker play is really coming around.
Well, for sure, John Derby, an excellent player. One of the guys from Wisconsin playing against his old home state, so to speak. But he and Melvin Foster really come around for a great tandem in there, backing up that line. Good people up front, and that helps those linebackers considerably, game after game.
It's the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Wisconsin Badgers from Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. The Hawkeyes take on the Badgers. Big Ten play next on your statewide home for sports, Iowa Public Television. Shining on Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, all set for Big Ten football action. The Badgers and the Hawkeyes tee it up. A beautiful day for football. Sun is shining, all the black and gold you'll ever want to see, a smattering of red and white. And you take a look at the Hawkeyes chomping at the bit to get out onto the field in this one. There's the guy who is the director of the Hawkeye effort down to the years behind 12 seasons. He has never lost a football game to the Wisconsin Badgers. The Badgers haven't beat the Hawks since '76, and here they come in the swarm.
It's also interesting to note, Mike, that as the Hawkeyes come out here, so they have really something to try and prove, and I'm going to believe that Barry Alvarez Hawks is playing with the Hawkeyes for the Badgers. What a great way to turn things around. This could be a real plus on their side if they come down here and play Iowa a tough football game.
Wisconsin has had trouble moving the ball on the ground, but they can pass the football. There's the guy in charge of it all. Barry Alvarez. One of these points with both coaches about the effective Wisconsin's knowledge of the Iowa playbook is there for the Secretary of advantage.
I really don't think that gives us an advantage. I think maybe disadvantage by knowing too much. But it all boils down to players coming out on the field and executing and playing. It doesn't have anything to do with knowing plays or knowing schemes or personalities. You've got to come out and play, and the one that plays the best will win. You know, we'll check them out real quick, how much they're playing our audibles and things of that nature. And if they do, if they don't come in here and just try to play good, sound, hard-nosed football, we're going to burn them. I'll just tell you that, because we know what they know, and we can use that to advantage.
The Hawks goes to Wisconsin, and the Badgers elect to receive in this one, and the Hawks will defend the goal to our line, coming to South Goal, and we have a close win, a variable win, and there should be testing 15 to 20 miles an hour from this side. Something up in front of us. This one is in the win. The Hawks got to back that the defense has been playing so well in that last game against Michigan State. I'm sure they'd like to see that defense out of the field first to test the pressure of our hard really. The smart move there is Rory Lee, who decides to put it down, and we'll bring it out to the 20-yard line to get this one underway. Tony Lowry, he's been an interesting study as we heard so many times. He didn't play last year. He was on the summer program. Starting quarterback. First possession, Wisconsin. First and 10. No huddle. The 20-yard line. That's Lowry over the ball. And that is Robert Williams on the handoff. Stack up on the left side. It shakes loose. And on the first play of the football game, we have our first turnover.
For sure, and there's a flag on the far side also, but I got to believe that was illegal procedure on the part of Wisconsin. We'll wait for the call. But you're right, it's a turnover, and the Hawkeyes get the fumble.
Offside! Whoa! So a better bill to swallow for a swarming Hawkeye defense. Will take a look. Hawks were offside.
But it didn't look like anybody left too early from their position. More than likely, one of those defensive ends are lined up offside.
No huddle once again. The 25-yard line. It's still first down. First and 5. And again, no huddle. Stacked up in the eye will be Kevin Ellison and Robert Williams. That's Kerry Middle slotting now as a tight end. Connection past the 30-yard line. Well enough for the first down. That's Lionel Crawford before Merton Hanks put the counter on him. Crawford is a former quarterback, and there have been a lot of Wisconsin players who have flip-flopped offense to defense and defense back the other way. You see the lineup, and that interior line is a big one. 285 tackle to tackle, 285, 322, 265, 321, and 276, 400 again in Princeton. The Wisconsin Badgers will be top of the you went off the side of the
Excuse me, Wisconsin coming out there with the huddle. He and John Derby having a great season so far.
Tony Spaeth and Lionel Crawford are wide to the left. 2 straight completions for Tony Lowry. Robert Williams, kaboom. Interior to the Hawkeye line, and we're going to give that one to Matt Ruland, it looks like.
And Rod Davis, too, I think.
Rod Davis.
Nose guard in there. Both of them staying very low, taking them on the blockers, but for sure shedding them and meeting that running back behind the line of scrimmage.
Brown is split to the right. Spaeth is split left, along with Crawford. Going to see a lot of double tight end setup. This is Kerry Miller, who slots to the tight end, right side. Lowry in the scramble, and he can go. The pickup will be 3.5, maybe 4 yards as he turns the corner.
Good job that time. Moses Santos dropped off from the defensive end. They want to throw that quick pass again over to that slot back. You might be able to see it here, but Moses Santos goes out. He covers the guy very, very well. He always looked into that side. Now he has to run for it. And Santos makes a great play here to stop him, along with Eddie Polley, to keep him short of that first down.
And on the change for 4th down, Wisconsin tried to get a quick snap on. The punter will be Brad Brecky. Angela will let it go out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. And Iowa in its first possession, right to left in front of us. You see Matt Rogers, who will direct the Iowa effort.
That's right, Matt Rogers really coming into his own also. Last year was a little bit shaky at times. You might have heard that, a warning on the Wisconsin sideline that they're coming out onto the field too far. The one warning, I guess the second one's a penalty maybe, but at the same time, Matt Rogers, I think, is really doing the job now. He looks like he's got the confidence that he really needed last year. Again, a little bit shaky at times, wasn't seeing the field quite as well as he might want to, but he really looks like he's feeling it now.
Right side, Sean Smith. Danon Hughes, split left side. Stacked up to Galva. And Nick Bell, look out, somebody's going to get hurt. It's out to the 39-yard line, well enough for the first down. And Eddie Fletcher is the sacrificial lamb to get in front of Nick Bell.
Right, good blocking in the right side. Watching here to see anything in. You see Galva going up into the middle, but as everything came down, Nick Bell did a great job of adjusting there, seeing the space to the outside, and picked up the first. Good running job.
38-yard line is the line of scrimmage on 1st and 10. Nick Bell to the line of scrimmage and 3. On this one, you see Sean Smith flip to the right side and Hughes to the left side. And we will mention that John Falloon is not in uniform today. Pat McGettigan makes the stop. You see in the backfield, Tuyaba along with Stewart, and it was actually Bell to get the start in the backfield. Smith and Hughes the wideout, and some familiar names along the offensive line. 2nd and 7. Bell for the 3rd straight carry. Eddie Fletcher finally runs him down, and Nick Bell gets the pickup of 23 yards, and Iowa's 3rd first down in the series.
Well, you can see it there, too. Some great blocking up front. Look at those defensive backs. They're going after him. But I swear, folks, those people don't want to stick their head in there too many times. You can see that big guy coming at you.
Smith to the left.
5 yards to carry there for Dick Bell. He's a player.
Tuyaba pass to 35 and Sarr to 35. He'll bring it to about the 33 before Dan Batch gets the stop. Here's that Wisconsin interior defensive line, and I'll guarantee you they're just as good as the offensive line here in the stretcher.
And you just mentioned that Dan Batch, talking with Dan McCarney during the week, he had high praises for Dan. He's an outstanding player. He said, we have a lot of good players up in Wisconsin. He said, just not enough for sure in backup role. He said, there's a lot of potential there as the year goes on.
2nd and 8, Nick Bell with no place to go. Trying to slide off the block and back the other way. He'll pick up maybe a yard before Brendan Lynch gets hold of him. Don Davey also in on the stop. Davey, leader in tackles and also going for a 4th straight year as a first team academic All-American.
He has 30 years back, and the leading tackler of the Wisconsin unit is Greg Thomas, the defensive back, and that's something you don't want to have.
3rd and 6. And Rogers with his first pass sets up at the 40, and it's over the head of Sean Smith. And it'll be 4th down.
That's
Kind of interesting stat is Sean Smith coming from the right side across the middle, but also Michael Saunders coming from the left side. They were within 5 yards of each other, and maybe that's why he threw it over their head. Iowa's first possession of the football game, and on from Jeff Gillis. And the attempt will be 50 yards. No, sir. Wide to the right. He had the distance, did he not? He sure did. It's plenty of distance. He still has a big, strong leg. You know, you'll see it here. It's big shot. Probably he goes to the right here for a bit. And normally that ball would hook. The way those sidewinders kick that ball, sometimes that hooks back to the left. But maybe the wind held it out there. So the line of scrimmage will be the 33, and Wisconsin comes out for its second offensive possession. We saw no huddle in the first offensive possession, and Tony Lowry stepping down with the running back, Robert Williams. Double wide right with Lionel Crawford and Tony Spade. Now stacked up in the eye. As Miller behind Kevin Ellison, the fullback. Wisconsin is obviously working the X factor, the unknown factor, showing a lot of formation and no huddle. And now Ellison is in the backfield to stack up in an eye with Williams. We saw the tight end stack up in the first set of downs and then slid off to his normal down position. That's right. Now he put the two backs back in the backfield instead of having that slot man. So you're right, doing a lot of different things, trying to catch Iowa off guard. Lowry. Over the middle, he finally gets rid of it, and it's past the 45-yard line to the 46, and Moses Santos makes the stop on Lionel Crawford. Lowry can't scramble. And this is a good job by Lowry. You'll see the pressure. There's some good coverage downfield, and you'll see the pressure coming at him. And he's smart enough. He knows exactly where that line of scrimmage is and gets rid of it before he crosses it for the first down. Tim Ware splits wide to the left with Tony Spade. Ellison and Williams stacked up behind Lowry. You can see there about a 50% completion. One thing that Lowry does have, though, is like you mentioned, is he has that running ability to scramble and get the ball upfield. That's Ware over the middle. And he is brought down by John Kirby, who's right on top of him. Kirby, one of the Wisconsinites on the Iowa roster, one of those. He is from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Well, one of the things John Kirby's done for that linebacker crew, he plays the strong side, the same side that Brad Kloss plays. And that really, and the job that he does in that strong side just takes all three a lot of times, that weak side linebacker, just seeing Calvin Foster, how well he can run and chase the ball. That's what Calvin said. Kirby's doing a big job. Robert Williamson, no place to go. On 2nd and 6 from near midfield. And Melvin Foster and Eddie Polly get the stop. Wisconsin now forces 4 in the aerial lane. And in his second offensive possession, Fox picked up 43 yards but fell short on the 50-yard field goal attempt by Jeff Gillis. And we're here at possession number 2, just inside the 8-minute mark. It's 3rd and 6. Flat up with Lowry next time. First one through was Melvin Foster. Made him cut the ball in and think, how am I going to get out of this? Well, you'll see some real good pressure here because they came with the blitz. There's Melvin Foster running through their free. Leroy Smith on the outside containing that play. Good effort, good job of defense. Will rattle dead at the 25-yard line. 32 yards hit the first time around. 34 yards to check this time around for Brad Brecky. And no return for Iowa. Second offensive set to Hawkeyes. There's a picture, Dan McCarney. Now that's an odd sight. There's a buddy of yours. Great guy. Born and raised Iowa City. Played at City High. Played for the Hawkeyes. Coached for the Hawkeyes. Talking to him during the week. Says, how's it going to feel over there? You know, something you just have to do. But what a great
individual with a great dad, the chief of police here in Iowa City for years. Outstanding.
Defensive line coach, and he's really put together. First of all, he inherited some great people up front with Johnson, Rowland, Davis.
You have Mike Wells coming in as a freshman, but he's done a great job. That defensive line is really doing a super job, which helps in the linebackers score as well.
Hawkeyes and the Badgers matching up here at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Big assignment for the Hawkeyes next week. Number 1, Michigan at Ann Arbor. That's what the Badgers got last week in the Big Ten opener at Camp Randall Stadium, and 41-0 was the final. Wolverines, obviously, with the upper hand on the Badgers.
That'll be a tough one for the Hawkeyes. The one thing the Hawkeyes have done is they've gone into Ann Arbor.
Pretty tough football during the Hayden Fry reign here.
Hughes is left. Smith is right. Iowa for the second straight possession starts from the 25. Nick Bell turns the corner. Out to the 34-yard line, short of the first down by about half a yard. Scott Nelson gets in line for some punishment. How many guys make contact before they snap the play?
Quick count of 5 or 6, I think. But you can see a couple of them ducking their heads and not really putting the shoulder into them. And that's just smart, as far as I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't send a young man to college to make bad decisions, do you? Second and about a foot. Bell now with 10 yards. The average carry, 5 carries. Got his man. That is Mike Saunders at midfield in Wisconsin territory, and up for the first down.
That's a nice play by the Hawkeyes. You'll see Rogers go back here, fake that quick pitch, but he's going to look downfield. But he looked to Sean Smith on the left side, running the deep pattern. He was covered. Then he saw Saunders curling into the middle, and Saunders did a great job of finding that open area. And obviously Rogers was able to get it to him. So a good pickup for the Hawks.
That was Troy Vincent on the stopping end of the reception. And slow to get up for the Iowa Hawkeyes is Ted Belliser, another Wisconsinite out of Green Bay. Boy, he's been a big part of the Hawkeye success story in the trenches.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, that whole offensive line is tough. They're young.
It's a young group. Before I tell you, they're really coming around and playing
Really tough, knocking people backwards off the ball, and that's why you see Nick Bell and Tony Stewart run for good yardage.
First and 10, the call goes to Bell. He'll pick up 4.5 yards, and it'll be 2nd and 6 from the 45. So Jaden Fry puts a high premium on this area. He really doesn't feel that many ball players are ready, and once they know the X's and O's, and they've been in the trenches.
And it takes a while to get that done, but boy, these first few games, you can see that offensive line really mature. They all had some playing time in past years, but this year they're playing together as a unit and really coming on.
Yeah, Belliser just a sophomore. He's making contributions already. But basically, he looks to the seniors. Bell again. First down, Iowa, and through the 30-yard line is Nick Bell, who is averaging just better than 10 yards per carry. Greg Thomas gets in his way at the 30.
But watch the blocking up front. You talk about that offensive line. You look at the hole that gets the run through. The Dow out there in front going to their outside. And look at the hole he has there. I don't know, Mike. You and I could probably pick up 5 on that one.
Not much more, though.
There's another good shot of it right there. But see the opening he had to get him started.
First and 10 to 31. Goyava and Bell. And guess who? Bell gets inside the 30. And nearing the 5-minute mark here in the first quarter, that was James Brown. The next tackle. I didn't know he got out. Oh, that's another story altogether.
Mike Peroni in the offensive guard now. You don't lose a whole lot with Eagles. He's a big man also to knock people back.
6'2" and 270. He also a sophomore to back up Pellicer. Second and 8 to 30, the 29-yard line. Good stiff Wisconsin rush. And putting the arm up and then checking it in quite wisely is one Matt Rogers. Don Davey led the charge. Let's take a look. They came with those outside people pretty quick on Matt Rogers. You're looking downfield for Michael Crombie running a deep pattern. He didn't have the time to really set up and read that defense well enough to throw the ball. Give Wisconsin credit. There was some real pressure that time. The loss will be 9.5 yards. Third and a per piece. Nick fell out of the backfield inside the 30. And it gets back to what would be the original line of scrimmage, minus the sack before Melvin Hunter runs him out of bounds.
Melvin Hunter, that time a 3-year letterman for the Badgers at linebacker, did a good job reading that play, seeing that Rogers was in a little bit of trouble, saw Dick Bell coming out of the backfield, and as that ball was dumped off to him, he was right there to knock him out of bounds. Way short of the first down, so we'll see Skillett come back in, try another field goal.
It'll be a 45-yard attempt. Second attempt of the first quarter for Jeff Skillett with Jim Hartlieb holding. Yep. That time he read it just the way it should have been read. And what we don't know is how stiff is the wind that high off the playing surface, 15 to 20 mile an hour of the gusts.
Well, you see the kick here. It's a low line drive, so I don't think the wind had much effect on it. But he right through the uprights for a good field goal after missing that first one. Kicked it to the right. This time he put her down the middle. Again, Jeff Skillett, I wish him a lot of luck because he's a good, solid young man, but he's got a great leg. And he has a lot of power there. He has to just maintain that confidence. And after last week's game, he felt good about it, but he has to stay in there and keep popping them away.
So the Hawkeyes draw first blood in this one. A drive of 47 yards in 8 plays. And at the 3:43 mark of the first quarter, we've got a 3-0 ball game. Boy, you couldn't pick out a better, more beautiful football Saturday. Pleasantly cool and a light breeze and all sorts of sunshine upstairs. There's your deep man for the Wisconsin Badgers. That's Rory Lee, and he can bring it. A yard deep. But not this time. He draws a lot of black jerseys. Led by Matt Whitaker. Sophomore, and on the 15-yard return, third offensive possession of the first half, Wisconsin.
That's right. You're right. He could really bring it out of there, but the good high hanging kick gave the Hawkeyes a good chance to get down there, shed off the blockers, and then make 4 or 5 people right around him when he got to the 15-yard line. Brian Weiss in there also. There's a guy that I've liked ever since he started here at Iowa. He's a real gunner. He goes on those kick teams and runs down there, flies into people. Good, hard-hitting guy. There you have it. 8 plays, 47 yards with a 45-yard field goal for the Hawkeyes to take the lead 3-0.
Kevin Ellison and Mark Montgomery are stacked up in the eye behind Tony Lowry. Double wide left, no huddle. Got his man, and that's Tony Spades out in the flat. And the pickup will be near 10 yards, and I believe enough for the first down. Brian Wise to make the stop. You can be well sure of one thing. The 7 guys down in the field in the striped shirts are going to be keeping track of downs in this one.
I think last year everybody learned a lesson. Or last week, excuse me. Everyone learned a lesson.
Second and about a foot. Ellison and Montgomery. That's Montgomery for the first down out to the 30-yard line. There's the guy in charge of it all, Jim Johnson, Matt Rulin. To make the stop, 1st and 10, Wisconsin. That's Montgomery again. And a second 5-yard pickup for the Badgers, who have one glaring weakness before John Klein.
Yeah, there's Melvin Foster once again into that tackle.
Oh, that was Melvin Foster. I'm sorry, I said Klein. The fact of the matter is, Wisconsin only has 200 yards rushing in 4 football games, an average of 50 per game, but they picked up a little bit of green.
20 tackles in a game. I tell you, that's a lot of head knocking. Melvin Foster, as we said earlier, is really coming into his own.
Montgomery with a pickup of 12, perhaps 13. Past the 45-yard line and 3 straight running plays. If anything, Iowa is not expecting the run. The game book says this: Wisconsin will come out throwing. And while we've got just a second here on the strategy of Barry Alvarez, when you work a no-huddle offense, Mike Riley, you're talking about exceptional burdens on your quarterback, on your wide receivers, well, on the whole offensive unit, particularly being on the road and all the noise.
Well, that's it. And it's all basically all audible, so you got to be listening all the time. And if you miss it up and down the line, you obviously create more chances of mistakes doing this. But this drive, Wisconsin's coming out and executing pretty well.
That's Montgomery, who had 3 rushes and 23 yards. He picks up another 3. And it was Rod Davis from the interior of the Iowa defensive line on the nose. To bring him down, it'll be 2nd and 7. Wide to the right side now for the Badgers is Lionel Crawford. Tony Spate will split left. And Lowry brings him up to the line, and we see a split backfield now. No I formation. Whole pocket full of tricks here in formation. Got his man over the middle and out of the backfield. That was Mark Montgomery, and apparently enough for the first down before Melvin Foster got him.
Maybe something to think about, the fact that they're not using that huddle. You see Lowry here looking over the field pretty well and zips it in there between the linebackers. But you got to think, you got Alvarez, a pass defensive coach, McCarney and Bernie Wyatt as pass defensive coaches for the Hawks. They know how those signals come in from the sidelines, the defensive unit. I gotta believe they know that by going with no huddle, it creates a problem for the Hawk defense and having to call everything by audible.
Good green that time for Robert Williams, junior out of Columbus, Georgia. He gets the first down and a pickup of 12 before Doug Book brings him down. And Wisconsin's eating up some green.
After the first 2 series, they couldn't really go anywhere. All of a sudden, they got themselves together in the sidelines, and they're just hammering it now. They're just playing hard-nosed, rock-em, sock-em football. Here's C. Williams, 200 yards rushing.
Ball goes to Williams again. Derby's the first one to him. And he is finally brought down by, well, John Derby gets credit for the stop along with Jim Johnson. And we come to the end of the quarter here at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. And it's the Iowa Hawkeyes with the edge, 3-0 on the Wisconsin Badgers. We'll be back with this second quarter in just a moment. Mike Newell, Mike Riley back here at Kinnick Stadium, and the story in this one to this point has been Wisconsin's prolific passing attack in the early part of the first quarter, and then a pretty productive running attack in the second part of the first quarter. As a matter of fact, in the air, Wisconsin 6 of 6 to 5 different receivers for 48 yards and 3 passing first downs. But Robert Williams and Mark Montgomery with the legs have been the big story in the late going of the first quarter. Let's start number 2, 2nd and 7. Williams elects to go to the outside. Clear sailing upstream to the 10-yard line. Inside the 10, well enough for the first down. And Wisconsin has something going before Doug Cook will send him out of bounds.
Well, watch this. He does a great job of bouncing to the outside. You can see over there Moses Santos looked like he had it turned to the inside, but he got tied up with that blocker. And Williams, smart enough with some good speed, jumped to the outside for a big gain.
It'll be first and goal. It's marked at the 8-yard line. The gain is 18 yards for Robert Williams, and the Hawkeye fans are saying, tighten it up. Montgomery to the 5-yard line. Well, I'll tell you this, the offensive side of the ball for Wisconsin, they move a lot of players in and out of the action. Melvin Foster gets credited for the stop at the 5. We've seen 3 different running backs, Ellison, Montgomery, and Williams, and at least a half dozen wide receivers to this point. Double wide lefts, Faith and Crawford. The I formation, Ellison and Montgomery. It's Montgomery with no place to go. And again, I think it's worth mentioning, Mike Riley, that interior to the Wisconsin line measures this way, tackle to tackle, 285, 322, 265, 321, and 276.
Anything bigger than 300, I just can't imagine. But they're doing the job. At that time, the Hawkeye defense really popped in there. Matt Rulin underneath the pile. A good help for the linebackers or from the linebackers. Derby and Melvin Foster to come in there to hold them to no gain.
Melvin Foster with 2 straight stops. He's going to have to make a third. Over the middle and in and out of the hands of Lionel Crawford with a flag going down in the end zone. There might have been some hand-to-hand combat as the first incompletion goes up on the arm of Tony Lowry.
Well, with the reaction of the Hawkeye defense, I think they're going to call it on Wisconsin maybe for offensive pass interference. Eddie Polly and Merton Hanks back there talking about it.
Pass interference, lost the down.
Oh, that's a bitter pill to swallow for the Badgers, knocking on the door, losing the down and the completion.
The only thing worse is if this kid catches, I can't remember who it was, but he catches the ball, he's in the end zone.
Yep.
So he goes throwing behind him a little bit. Number 13, Lionel Crawford. If he would have caught it, went in, they really would have felt bad.
This is Rich Thompson from 27, the marker, 37, the attempt. And he drills it. And just like that, in the early stages of the second quarter, we have a tie football game. Nice to have that kind of three-point ability to come off the bench, isn't it?
Boy, that's for sure. And I watched him in warm-ups, and he can really pop it. You can see with those 8 consecutive games, Rich Thomas, he's a very, very good, excellent kicker. And it's nice to have that guy, as you say, Mike. Just the fact that he can get halfway close and you're putting 3 points on the board. That time with a 15-yard penalty, they were able to still get something on the board. Back to that previous play, I know we didn't see it, but it was a pick play is what it amounted to. One of the offensive receivers for Wisconsin was coming across behind the goal line, and he picked off one of the Hawkeye defenders trying to cover Lionel Crawford, and the referee or the umpire standing right back there in that area saw it and threw the flag.
Thompson will tee it up at the 35. You heard the fight song on Wisconsin. Certainly one of the most recognizable and inspiring fight songs there is. Copied, imitated, and duplicated by how many high schools across the land? That's the Michigan fight song. You hear it everywhere. This will be Anila. A half-yard deep. Anila sidesteps his way past the 20, and I believe the knee will drop up. They're indicating right on top of the 20. Jeff Anila, also from Wisconsin, from the northern Wisconsin town of Brule. Todd Strop makes the stop. And the Hawkeyes, in their first possession of the second quarter, their first possession of the second quarter and their third possession overall, will move left to right in front of us. Smith to the right, Hughes to the left. The call goes to Tony Stewart. Second man stacked up, and he gets out past the 25. He'll pick up, 5.5, let's call it 6.
Now you see the Hawkeyes come out with a little quicker huddle. A little strategy going on here between those coaches.
Stewart again. This time he's tripped up to the 30-yard line. Pick up of 3.5 or 4. Just short of the first down marker with Gary Casper making the stop.
This is interesting. I don't remember seeing the Hawkeyes do this.
This is your basic 2-minute drill with 12 minutes left in the half.
That's what it looks like. But they are going to slow it down here to come in for measurement. I think it's going to be a little bit short of the first down, but nevertheless, I think that sometimes those officials get tired of that quick offense, no huddle. They want to call timeout and take a break.
That needs a break every now and then. Used to be the slow down tactic where you could ask for a measurement. Now they got to make a decision if your request is at all proper. You saw inches for the first down.
There's Tony Stewart creeping up on that 2,000 mark. Outstanding player. Last year he'd hurt a little bit. The year before that also. And it's a shame because he's one of those real quality running backs. And he stays healthy through his career at Iowa. He would have really put some numbers on the board.
Here's Chet Gill making some adjustments on that defensive line where the Badgers did pick up some green in the late going of the first quarter, ending up in the field goal. Stewart, third time the call, past the 34, 35, and out to about the 40, and going elbow over earlobe is the referee in this one, Scott Nelson.
Watch this now. The umpire, Ed Hassel, he gets a pretty good shot here. Bang, right there. Goodbye. Talk about fifth down.
That's paying for past sins. Come on, Tony.
Yeah, hello.
Stewart gets his 4th straight call, and he battles for 2. Hawkeyes, and the stop to Scott Nelson. 4 rushing first downs to this point.
It's kind of interesting the way this game's unraveling here. The Hawkeyes have taken the ball and moved it each time they've had it, but they only have 3 points on the board. So you got to give that Wisconsin defense some credit, the fact that they are making him work for everything, but again, keeping the score down.
Saunders and Smith split wide to the left and 2nd and 8. Stewart for the 5th straight carry, and the marker goes down as he comes past the 45 to the 47. Looks like we're going to have a face mask penalty. That was Scott Nelson. He's been all over the field for the Badgers to this point.
Yeah, I think they're going to get holding here against Greg Hageter. Watch him. He's pulling out from the guard. Well, you might not see it, but right there, he's hanging on to the guy. Right there, you see that, pushing from behind, and I think that's the guy they got.
So this one will cost the Hawkeyes. It's Iowa's first penalty, isn't it?
I believe so.
2nd. Offensive holding the call, so it's 2nd down from the 33-yard line. Hawks have to get to the 49-yard line for the first down. Hughes to the left, Smith to the right. Kuyaba and Tony Stewart are stacked up.
Tony Stewart.
Out to the 39-yard line, and Gary Casper the stop. And getting over the 2,000-yard mark is Tony Stewart. Our congratulations to Tony. He is number 5 on the Hawkeye all-time rushing list. 160 yards short of the number 4 man on the ladder, Dennis Mosley. Going upstairs, and the center fielder brings it down. That's the freshman, Scott Nelson, who's been all over this field, I mentioned, and the freshman from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, comes up with a turnover. And that time from the release, you know he was just laying it up, hoping the receiver would get underneath.
That's right. Michael Saunders was an intended receiver, but it's way overthrown. You can see where Michael Saunders is right there. And as he does overthrow it, the defending back's waiting there for the ball, pulls it down. Scott Nelson, and big turnover here for Wisconsin. You got to believe over there on the Wisconsin side now, you got Barry Alvarez talking to those defensive units, but for sure the offensive unit previously, saying, hey, we're in this ball game, guys. If we don't beat ourselves, we can play tough with this team the way we're going right now. So I got to believe there's a lot of encouragement on the Wisconsin side right now that they're in this football game a lot more than they probably thought they were going to be.
Well, warning to the Wisconsin bench again, penetrating inside the 35s.
That's interesting. Barry Alvarez over there in the sideline talking to one of the officials, wondering really what are you calling here? I don't think they came out onto the field. I think it was just a matter as they get close to that sideline. I've never seen that call except for Bo Schembechler a couple times.
Tell them to back off from the sideline. I thought they had split further than the 35-yard line. The Badgers. Battle of field goals to this point. Skillett for Iowa, 45 yards. Late in the first, early in the second. Thompson for Wisconsin, 37 yards. 1st and 10, the Badgers. That's Lowry over the ball. And he wants to talk it over. Wisconsin going with the audible all afternoon long. We have yet to see a huddle. Melvin Foster. Oh, I tell you, what a football game he had last week, and he's become a real force and a team leader for the Hawkeyes. Earlier, we asked Melvin what his role was on this particular Hawkeye team.
My role is a very simple role. It's, you know, they've given me the freedom to go and play football. If I make a mistake, I'm not getting yanked out of the game because of making a mistake anymore. Melvin, you play your football and show your leadership, and in turn, everybody else will huddle around you and do the same.
There's no question that's working this year because Melvin is having a great year in his first 4 games. 44 tackles, leading the team. Outstanding player. He's a guy that has a great size, speed, and strength. He's a real pro prospect because of that. And I tell you what, he's just, being the fact he's playing all the time, even though he did last year, but taking that leadership role, he's really maxing out on what he can do, and he's doing it well.
And that's an assessment from a former linebacker, Mike Riley, All-American here at the University of Iowa. And I thought you were going to say Melvin Foster is doing it just like you told him how to do it, just how you taught him, huh?
Well, I've talked to him a few times, and Melvin's listening pretty good now.
That boy. 1st and 10. Lowry sets up at the 25, and he's got his man over the middle. That'll be Brown. And Scott Plate puts the stop on him. Tom Brown, junior out of Milwaukee. Look at Scott Plate. No huddle again. Double left, it's Lionel Crawford and Tony Spade. To the right side will be Brown. 2nd and 1. Spade, completion at the 45-yard line, and he battles his way to midfield well enough for the 1st down. Now that's where Wisconsin can keep you thinking. It's 2nd and 1, and Lowry Lowry goes upstairs.
Well, and the way they're mixing things up here, you'll see a real quick pass out there. There's a little hitch pattern and up to the first down. Good strategy. But you got to remember how Wisconsin came out and started that in the first couple series. A little quick pass here, a little quick pass. Then they went to the run. The third series, they came out and just ran at the Hawkeyes. Got their field goal. Now they're coming back to this. So they're really doing a good job of keeping the Hawkeyes guessing.
Merton Hanks the stop for Iowa. And here's Lowry on the handoff to Robert Williams, who is belted to the ground by Melvin Foster.
Oh, belted. He really put the hit on him here. Williams is making a move, cut back against the grain, and just as he made that one step, there was Melvin eating his lunch.
Loss will be a yard, second and 11. Lowry for Wisconsin, the quarterback out of Columbus, Ohio, has 3 passing first downs. He's 8 of 9 for 71 yards in the air. Williams finds some running room inside the 45 to the 41-yard line. Leroy Smith. And not close enough for a measurement, maybe a yard short.
Williams not all that big, 5'9", 185 pounds, but he's got those quick feet. Jumps up through that hole that time very quickly. Some good blocking for him, but once he sees that hole, he's up there and through it for almost a 10-yard game, but a little bit short of the first.
8 carries and 42 yards now for Robert Williams. He's stacked up in the eye with Kevin Ellison. 3rd and 1, and it's Lowry on the rollout. First down and a yard or 2. And Lowry's keeping the Hawkeyes guessing. John Kirby angles him out of bounds. And you got to hand it to the Badgers.
Well, some good faking here. Look at that. A good fake there to Williams. As the Hawkeyes, everybody converging on the middle. John Derby sees it, tries to get out there, but he can't chase Lowry down until he gets that sideline. A lot of people might remember Lowry came to Wisconsin. He was an option type of quarterback, so he has all the running ability that you want. And he plays like that, he can sure keep a defense honest.
38-yard line, 1st and 10. Flags go down. Apparently the whistle before the snap. You know, I should mention something here, Mike, that statistics can tell a story and then they cannot tell a story at the same time. In the first 3 games this year for Wisconsin, before last weekend's meeting against Michigan, Wisconsin actually outgained the opposition all 3 games, but came away with 2 losses and 1 victory against Temple, against Cal, and against Ball State.
That's right.
It's a tough thing to do to get all that yardage and not be able to punch it in.
That's exactly right. I watched most of that California game, and they look pretty good, but I think that's the encouraging part when you think of Barry Alvarez and his staff up there. It's a case of, hey, guys, you're doing well enough to win these games. Now we just have to eliminate mistakes, and we can play with most anybody. So today I think you're seeing them mature to that point.
Second Badger penalty makes it 1st and 15. Swing pass right, Williams going to lose some ground before he's rattled out of bounds. And Lowry continues to complete the passes in.
What a great job here by Matt Rowland. Watch this. They set the screen up to the right side. There's Matt Rowland waiting for him, and then you see Wells come over to help out. He smelled that out and stopped the play. Great play.
Line of scrimmage will be midfield. And the Badgers have to get to the 28-yard line, so it is 2nd and 22. 3rd down, although the marker says 2nd. And we should have lost it down on the penalty, so I think you're right, Roger Crimmage. That's Lionel Crawford inside the 30 and close to the first down marker. Brian Wise puts the hit on him. This may be a first down and a 22-yard completion. Let's see.
Yeah, it's going to be awfully close. They're probably going to take a measurement. Watch. There's Lionel Crawford right in front of you, the way he curled in there. And, oh, boy, look at that. Good move that time by Moses Santos, but couldn't quite get the handle on or get a hand on the ball. So it's going to be very, very close here for the first down.
Crawford has moved from quarterback to wide receiver. We mentioned earlier that Tony Lowry sat out the '89 season, didn't quite like the idea of playing with the Badgers. This year, he knocked on Barry Alvarez's door and said, "You got any room for me?" Lowry did. And so Crawford goes back to wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know who knocked on whose door. I got to believe that Barry might have went looking for Lowry, because he is an outstanding athlete. And you see Crawford there, an ex-quarterback that has some great athletic ability that can adjust to play the receiver position.
You think Barry got on campus and says, "Where is this guy?"
I think so.
3rd and inches. And Wisconsin going for the first down. That was Melvin Foster to clog it up, but probably not before the first down. Yep.
Well, once again, you're seeing Wisconsin put together a good drive. Sometimes you can look at that no-huddle offense and talk about question mark or question that from the standpoint of the possible confusion. But, boy, I tell you what, Wisconsin is doing a great job here of executing with that no-huddle.
Out in the flat, that's Lionel Crawford again, and John Derby puts the stop on him. This is a 6-minute-plus drive for Wisconsin, and it took up the middle third of the second quarter. We're now at the 6:25 mark, heading into the halftime break.
Well, when you don't go to a huddle, you have to stay pretty basic, and that's what we're seeing Wisconsin do. Nothing too wild or exciting about the offense, but they're executing. That's the key thing.
Crawford now 4 catches, 43 yards. Robert Williams finds some running room. In fact, plenty of it. Touchdown, Badgers. From 20 yards away, veering left, was Robert Williams.
Well, some great blocking up front, but Williams did a great job of seeing where that hole was. And then we talked about his foot quickness, how quick he got up through there. A good block coming in from the left side. The wide receiver, I don't know if that's Crawford or not, but he saw that block coming from the outside, and he cut out behind it and around it, and then ran to the corner. So, boy, oh, boy. Wisconsin here doing quite a job. Put together a great drive here to put it in the end zone.
Rich Thompson is on for the conversion attempt. And just like that, we've got a 10-3 ball game. Wisconsin takes the lead on Iowa. Let's take a look at it once again.
Well, some great blocking up front as we talked about. Watch this. He cuts back this way. Watch this block, and he gets right there. That's right, number 13, Lionel Crawford. Really through the block and broke him loose to run to the corner.
Williams gets his 3rd touchdown run of the 1990 season. And we take a look. Oh, he picked that hole just right and then made the veer at the right time. He cut off the angle of the defensive back in pursuit. This is Hank with the last shot at him. Too late. And what's going through Barry Alvarez's mind right now? Hey, have we got a chance in this football game?
Well, you can bet they're telling those kids on that side of the field that you're into this football game and you have a great chance. So don't make any mistakes and you're going to be able to do a real job here. So you got to give Barry Alvarez and his staff a lot of credit. You saw Hayden Fry. I'm sure he's wondering, hey, they came out and they're doing all kinds of basic things where they're not too fancy with anything. They haven't surprised us, but they're just out executing it right now.
Thompson from the 35 with Keenan Hughes and Jeff Anola at the goal line. Anola at the 1. Out to the 23-yard line. And you got a feeling that Thompson has angled it to the freshman Anola. Twice now on the receiving end of the kickoff. He was gunning for him, and Todd Strupp makes the stop. There you go, 71 yards, 10 plays, and Williams with the 20-yard run. Rogers tucks it in. Out to the 28-yard line. He'll pick up 5.5, maybe 6. That time the fake to Bell, and it looked to me like the interior of that Wisconsin defensive line went for it. They were thinking Bell, and Melvin Hunter catches up with.
Well, you're 100% right, Mike. But downfield, give Wisconsin credit for some great pass coverage. Sean Smith had run a deep pattern. Dana Hughes ran a curl-in pattern behind the linebackers. With that good fake, the linebackers weren't there, but the secondary covered well, and Rogers didn't have a place to throw the ball.
2nd and 5. There's Nick Bell. And all 255 pounds takes the leap over the 30 out to about the 34-yard line. And Scott Nelson again.
That's right. Scott Nelson, all 192 pounds, meets him in the air here. It's pretty good collision when you see Nick jump over this pile and bang, hit the head.
I'll tell you this, Scott Nelson's going to get the game ball at halftime. He has been in at just about every stop.
Just hope that he can recognize it.
Yeah, he plays the free safety position. The center fielder down deep, and he has an interception. First down, Iowa. That's Bell on the receiving end to the 43-yard line. Pick up his 9 yards.
Guess who again?
Yep. Scott Nelson.
He says, wait a minute, that's enough of this.
He's just a freshman. This is a seasoned defensive backfield for Wisconsin, by the way. They started with 4 seniors on the corners and at the safety positions, and Nelson has played his way into the lineup.
Does a good job back there. He's up in the leaders with 15 tackles for the season, but I think he's almost matched that here in the first half. He's been in a lot of them.
Bell on his 11th carry of the football game gets to midfield. Line of scrimmage was the 44. 11 carries and 89 yards now for Nick Bell. Brendan Lynch to stop.
A little quick toss again to Nick Bell. They're working him hard. They worked both of them back. Tony Stewart was in there. He ran it 4, 5, 6 times in a row. But some good blocking out there. Kujawa, nice block in the corner to let Bell turn it up inside.
First down, and it's spotted at the 49-yard line, so we'll make it 90 yards to carry. 11 tries for Nick Bell, and here's number 12. Look out, somebody might get hurt. Nope, didn't get the head of steam to put anybody out of the ball game. Melvin Hunter catches up and up with Scott Nelson.
Well, I know we can keep talking about it. It's some great blocking up front, boy. That offensive line is really doing the job. And the typical Hawkeye offense, it isn't a real quick hitting type of thing when you hand the ball off and pop right up there. They get the ball back to the back. He looks over where the hole is, reads the blocks, and then he runs for daylight. But they're doing a great job up front.
It's a 100-yard first half for Nick Bell. 12 carries from the 40. 2nd and 1. And here's number 13. 101, 102, 107 yards. Huh? Hey, the meter's running. Greg Thomas, the stop. And a player down for Wisconsin is Nick Bell.
Maternowski, I think, is who that is. Number 95, a little slow getting up.
Kurt Maternowski, 6'1", 225 from Franklin, Wisconsin. Told you there's a definite Wisconsin flavor to the, or an Iowa flavor to the Wisconsin coaching staff, but on the Iowa roster, quite a few ball players that you see from the Badger State, Vanla from Brule, Wisconsin, Suburban Milwaukee, Derby, Fry, and Kuyava, and Rulin, Saunders, Van de Zande, and Belliser, of course, also from the Badger State. Pretty good recruiting territory for Hayden Fry, and I suppose if you had to put a mission statement on the desk of Barry Alvarez, get your own in-state ball players to play here first.
And he made that statement right away as soon as he moved into Madison. He said, we're not going to let those good players out of this state. And I think he did a good job last year recruiting most of the top players out of the Wisconsin area.
Here's Tony Stewart on for Nick Bell to the 25. Hey, he's got some green. Touchdown, Iowa.
Oh.
First play back into the ball game for Tony Stewart. First out of the backfield. will be 33 yards, and the Hawkeyes are back into this football game.
Well, the right side of the offensive line again. Eggeter, Baxley over there, Mike Devlin at center. What a hole they opened up for him. Then he got up through the line quick, and then he, with his speed, got to the outside and turned it upfield and got inside that pylon. So the Hawkeyes do a good job here taking that ball, countering the touchdown by Wisconsin, and moving it in the end zone.
Here's Jeff Skillett, and the Hawkeyes have tied it at 10. So just like that, the Hawkeyes in a sustained drive upfield. Tony Stewart, first play into the ball game, replacing Nick Bell. Let's take a look.
Lots of blocking over here on this side. Mike Miller in there even at this time. But look at the block. Belliser. And then he turns it upfield with good speed.
Yes, sir. Tony Stewart with his third touchdown on the ground. Let's take a look at it from 33 away, right on top of the pylon. You know, and I did the big no-no. You know that. On that one, Riley. I called it a touchdown before the arms went in the air. That's a big risk in this business.
I like your confidence.
I like you like to see some coaching up in the
There
press
you go.
box, huh?
It did take the guy a little while. He was standing there.
Thinking about it, yeah.
Official standing right there at the pylon, hesitated at first, and then decided, well, it's close enough. Let's call it.
Roger Crimmins helping us out with the stats upstairs here. Said, well, the referee heard you, Mike. So that was fair play. Short kick. Lee will let it bounce. He fields it at the 10. A couple yards, and that's it. He made the mistake of letting it drop the first time because it went about 10, 15 feet in the air, but you better bring that thing down, buddy, because that's going to require 10 yards.
That's right. And Matt Hilliard, he's really, I can see Matt Hilliard right in the middle. He gets through everybody and forces that receiver, the running back, Rory Lee, and bounce around a little bit, and then look at the convergence on the part of the rest of the Hawkeyes. Good coverage by the Hawks.
Carlos James, Doug Brook. Great pursuit for the Hawkeyes on a shallow pitch. Listen to the Hawkeye fans.
I think they just got into the game.
Oh, the Hawk fans are loving it here at Kinnick Stadium.
Ron Gator that time in there at defensive tackle, staying low, getting the penetration. He got the first arm on Williams that time. Well, you can really sense this crowd all of a sudden really got into this thing.
Second and 11. You know what they're trying to do is to negate the audible at the line. And now the referees will call delay of game. And the question comes forth with that Big Ten rule. Let's take a listen. How much noise is disrupted? Yep. That'll force Wisconsin into a huddle here. And this, to my thinking, is the first of the game.
I think you're right. Other than on the sideline before the game started, they were in a huddle, and since then we haven't seen it. You wonder which one of the coaches told the fans, the Hawkeye fans, let's get going with this thing.
Robert Williams to the 20, the 25, the 27-yard line. And the pickup will be 21 yards for Robert Williams.
Well, that's one way of quieting down the fans a bit. But watch this, a good job, a little delay action in the backfield. Draw play, John Derby misses that tackle. Olensack misses that one. And Williams does a good job of moving it upfield.
There is a Big Ten rule now in its third season, I do believe, maybe the second, about the noise from the crowd. And if the wide receivers or the interior liners, somebody can't hear That goes back to that Michigan State-Iowa game deep in the horseshoe. You remember it, Mike. And Hayden Fry was most vocal in saying that that was the crowd too much into the game. And Leroy Smith makes a stop on a second down play. But you see Nick Bell taking a breather.
And he's had a great first half. 100 yards plus here in the first half, but the Hawkeyes only 10-10 here with the Wisconsin Badgers. Much to the surprise of a lot of folks, I gotta believe.
Williams now with 81 yards on 12 carries, 2nd and 9. Lowry over the ball. Whoop, loose ball, and that's Montgomery back on top of it. What you call covering up your own mistake. Montgomery was running before he took the pitch back, and it was behind him.
Yeah, a little
in
bit.
all fairness.
That's right, a little bit behind him, but he probably should have had it. Got the bad hands right there, but that's the first time I think we've seen that kind of toss on the part of Wisconsin. And now the Hawkeyes call timeout with 31 seconds to go here, hopefully to force a kick yet. A punt by the Badgers.
10-10 ball game inside the 1-minute mark. 31 seconds remain. And the Hawkeyes have tied this in the late going of the first half with a spectacular 33-yard run for Tony Stewart. We have one more Hawkeye football game coming up here on Iowa Public Television. At this time, we plan to televise Iowa against Ohio State at 10:30 on Saturday, November 10th. We've had some exciting ones, and we look forward to the Buckeyes coming to Iowa Civic and Kinnick Stadium. Don't forget, Iowa against Ohio State. The Hawkeyes and the Buckeyes, Saturday, November 10 at 10:30. Mike Riley and I will be back here in the press box to bring you all the excitement. And, you know, Coop's going to bring in one wheel of a competitive team, a hard-hitting Ohio State ball club. They had some problems with Illinois last week.
That's right. They always are, though. Regardless what kind of season they have, they always play Iowa really tough.
3rd and 17. Turning the corner is the fullback Ellison. And Rob Davis from the nose, and John Derby from the linebacker's position put the stop on him. 4th down, and Wisconsin will have to punt it away with 29 seconds remaining in first half play. We're going to be here at the halftime break. We'll have the statistical report, the highlights, and a few other items coming your way. Mike Newell and Mike Riley here on your statewide home for sports, Iowa Public Television. And Mike will say it again, we couldn't have ordered up a nicer day. A good crisp and cool and clear fall afternoon at Kinnick Stadium, and a good battle between the Badgers and the Hawkeyes. Long way from over this one.
That's for sure, and what a great day. The wind out of the south is going to maybe have some effect in the game as it goes on. Obviously, the Hawkeyes called timeout here with a 4th down situation. 29 seconds to go to make Wisconsin at least attempt to punt. I've got to believe the Hawkeyes will be thinking about going after this one. But they're punting with the wind, so they should put the Hawkeyes back a little bit. But still, with 29 seconds, you got to go for it and hope that maybe you can come up with a big play.
Brad Brecky will kick it away from about the 15. Handela on the receiving end. He's situated at the Iowa 35. Yep, that was Merton Hanks. Touchdown Iowa, I think. Nope, we're going to have to wait. I may have called this one a little too early. We'll see. That was Merton Hanks to come in and get a hand on it.
Referee already signaled a touchback.
Yep, and there's a flag upfield at about the 22-yard line, so we're going to have to put a read on this one.
Boy, oh boy, what a great job by Merton Hanks again. He likes to go in there and make those blocks. That time he took the inside route, just inside the outside man of the Badgers on the line of scrimmage.
I saw Scott Waite get to the football, but I don't know if he hung on. And I was about to ring up another 6-pointer for the Hawkeyes. Let's unravel this here. Look at this. Look at it. It's like all-star wrestling here. Come on, guys. Get off the mat.
Illegal procedure on the part.
So that part of the decision works for Iowa.
That's right.
It is a touchback. Wisconsin did recover. And coming up with it is Tyrone Mahone. This is Frecky. That's Merton Hanks. Now the scramble starts.
There it is. Yep. All the way.
Yeah, I thought
Hawkeyes had a couple people around there, but nobody got the handle on it.
Ed Guyava also, now the scoreboard says 16 points are up on the board. And it's been ruled as safety, but if you look at the scoreboard, it says 16 to 10 Iowa.
There. See it
now the safety.
Now he's giving the safety sign. That's what I thought it should be, but at first he gave the touchback sign. So I thought the ball would, what does a touchback mean in a case like that? So it is a safety, so the Hawkeyes get the 2 points, and Wisconsin will kick off from the 20-yard line.
There's Merton Hanks, who has made a specialty out of blocking the punt, the field goal attempt. He'll find a way to get in there. Merton Hanks will. Defensive leader, one of the senior co-captains, and a first-rate guy. Hayden Fry can't say enough about that young man. Team leader. And so now the free kick for Wisconsin.
Well, Merton Hanks doing that all through his career here at the University of Iowa. He has a great instinct for it, or whatever it is, that he can jump through that line, and he always aims for the ball out in front of the kicker. And that's a little bit of a knack that some people don't have, but he does a great job with it.
Well, that time I got caught calling a touchdown. It just wasn't there. But we'll take 2 on this one, won't we, Mike?
I'm with you.
Roger Crimmins says I didn't yell loud enough for the officials to hear me this time. Okay, that's Antelope. Inside the 45, and with 11 seconds remaining. Good gain here, and the Hawks are in field goal range, but a bit of a tricky win. With Todd Strop making the stop on Antelope. What's your call here? Go for some yardage?
I would be surprised they're going to dump that ball off to Nick Bell in a screen pass or something. Let him run for daylight. You know that they have all the defenders dropping back, looking for the pass.
They'll be strung out. Hughes to the left, and to the right side is Smith. And the Hawks will take a little air out of the football here to talk it over with 11 seconds remaining in the half. 12-10 Iowa. The safety goes up on the board on the block punt attempt. It was Merton Hanks getting to Brecky. Brad Brecky, the punter. He made the contact and rattled into the end zone, and then you had your free-form all-star wrestling in the end zone, and the Hawks get 2 points up on the board. What's Hayden telling them, Mike?
Well, I think it was Wisconsin that called the timeout. There's a little confusion on the defensive side, but I think Hayden's, whatever he's saying down there, wouldn't you like to know that sometimes? Is he saying, now don't make a mistake, obviously. Here comes a block. This is, watch Merton Hanks coming right up the middle. Wow. Now the big scramble for the ball. Kajawa right there. You got Eddie Polly, I think, right there. But nobody for the Hawkeyes could get the handle on the ball.
I thought I read Carlos James in there at the top of the screen, but maybe not. Hawks with Bell and Guyava in the backfield behind Rogers. Hughes left, Smith right. Rogers 2 of 4 for 27 yards in the aerial lane. From midfield, and angling out of bounds will be from the tight end position, Michael Tidley. 7 seconds remain. Yep, Hayden's thinking 3, isn't he?
Boy, sure he's thinking 3, but that's going to be quite a kick because it is a south wind. So that ball's got to be, in my opinion, have to be inside that 30-yard line for sure. But anything beyond the 30 would be quite a field goal attempt.
7 seconds remain. Saunders to the left. That's Smith to the right. Bumped away at the last second, and getting a hand on it for Wisconsin is Eddie Fletcher. 1 second remains. And here's where you may just drop down in the football.
Well, there's Skillett. If he attempted that, it'd be over a 50-yard attempt into the wind. I think that's a little bit beyond where the wind's blowing.
There's going to come a time where he'll get a crack at doing a 50-yard or better.
And he's got the leg to do it, but whether or not into the wind is a real question mark. It'll be interesting to see what kind of play we pull here. We meaning the Hawkeyes.
Rodgers with the second left. Whoa! Introducing himself to Matt Rogers is Dewar Sharp to end the first half. And let's take a look at...
Four receivers are downfield going to the end zone, and Matt Rogers waited a little too long. I think all Hayden probably wanted to do is throw the ball deep, get it down in there, and maybe get a deflection and a touchdown, but Matt held onto the ball a little too long.
So that's the end of the second quarter of play. We're at the halftime break, and the score is Iowa 12 and Wisconsin 10. We'll be back with a look at the first half highlights and the statistics in just one moment.